team, and happy Monday. Mr. McCarthy here with the first in our Leadership Insights program for the Certified Instructors Group. The first series is going to be all about accountability and will be broken down into 4 pieces posted here in our group over the next 4 weeks. But before I start with the first piece, let me just take an extra minute or two to set some context. So, too often we confuse the subject of leadership with being someone's boss. Certainly you need to be a great leader to be a great boss, but you don't need to be a boss to be a great leader. You need to be a great leader to be a great mom or dad. You most definitely need to be a great leader to be a great karate instructor. You need to be a great leader to be a great friend or a great student or a great brother or sister. Great people are great leaders. So I want you to tune into these posts with your personal context in mind. That way we can all gain insight from the program and apply it to our lives every day. Does that make sense? All right, so let's get started. Accountability. It's a difficult word to define, but it's a vital element of great leadership. One of my favorite definitions of accountability comes from work on the subject by Roger Connors and Tom Smith, and especially their book called The Oz Principle. I'm going to talk a lot more about that book and some others over the next 4 weeks. The Oz Principle defines accountability like this. Accountability is a personal choice to rise above one's circumstances and demonstrate the ownership necessary for achieving the desired results. So let me just say that again. Accountability is a personal choice to rise above one's circumstances and demonstrate the ownership necessary for achieving desired results. I'm sure you and your teams are all super accountable, but this insight set is designed to try to increase and maintain a high level of accountability, and honestly the results will be remarkable if you can execute them. As a reference, the majority of this insight, as I said, on accountability is based on this book, The Oz Principle, and others by Connors and Smith. So if you want to delve deeper into the topic, I highly recommend their work to you. It's the best on the subject of accountability that I've ever come across. To me, it's the most practical and applicable to all aspects of our lives. They break accountability down into 4 simple concepts. See it, own it, solve it, do it. Sounds easy, but as leaders, how do we effectively implement this seemingly simple principle? So let's talk a little bit more about the first one, see it. To start the journey of increasing accountability in yourself and your team and your life, you have to ask yourself, do you see it? Do you see it? You have to obtain the perspectives of others to do that, first and foremost. To better understand what works or doesn't work in your school or in your life, make a habit of reflexively seeking out others' perspectives. Leaders who do this are aware that even when they are thoroughly and critically approaching a problem, they're unable to see every contributing factor on their own. Rather than considering others as a threat to their own perspectives, they inherently value the opinions of other people. Very, very important. Secondly, be open and candid in your communication. It's so important. Asking for honest input from others requires that you be honest with them in turn. Communication between you and your team should be fluid, frequent, constant, and candid. And people should be able to trust that you aren't manipulating the truth when you're setting expectations for them or giving them feedback. Thirdly, talking of feedback, you must ask for and offer feedback. getting into the habit of, again, reflexively asking for feedback on your style, on your leadership. It will empower you to see it. See those blind spots. And seeing those blind spots are more likely to be centered around your own behavior and attitude. Get a sense of what is your leadership style about. What's working for you and your team? What isn't? Is it a matter of perception? Or have you really been going about something in the wrong way? Understand your team and how they see you. And you'll be able to recognize miscommunication issues that could be hurting your ability to accomplish the goals that you set for your team. And then the fourth element for today, finally for today, you have to hear the hard things so that you openly see the reality of a situation. It's great to have a life or school or team full of kind, sensitive people. But at a certain point, you have to be willing to say and hear uncomfortable truths. Many people feel comfortable exchanging feedback to a certain point, but if the situation's too touchy and requires confrontation, they shrink away from it. Great leaders must get into the habit of dealing with what we call the elephant in the room and be willing to discuss issues that others were too fearful to address. So, when you face a situation that needs you to stay above the line when it comes to accountability, start with that question. Do you see it? Staying above the line is a theme. I'd love to hear, in daily conversation, in every action karate school, this phrase, are you staying above the line? Because, it's a great way of remembering that when you start to feel that accountability level drop, you do something to get it back above the line. So, that's all for now, team. Next week, we're going to talk about Own It. And please, if you have any questions or feedback, I'd love to hear from you. And bye for now.